don't listen to your parents कि 12th तक पढ़ना है उसके बाद तो chill है. No, you have to always study.
Okay. Hey everyone, welcome back to Think Big with AI podcast. With your support, we are aiming to become the number one data science podcast in the world. And I hope you enjoy today's episode. Hey everyone, welcome back. In today's episode, we have an exciting conversation with Akshita, a data scientist in Walmart, and she will be sharing her incredible journey with us. So thanks Akshita for doing this, that too on a weekend, and congrats on joining Walmart. So
Thank
yeah,
you. Thank you for having me.
let's start with a brief overview about you, some background, because people would want to know what kind of background you had and how did you end up in data science.
Actually, I started with data science, but yeah,
Okay.
I'll come to that. Okay, so I graduated in 2018. I had done my computer science degree, bachelor's in computer science from JP University, Solon. So in college, like, there's this thing going on, kya karna hai, what to do, I don't know where to land up, and people are all confused. I was in the same boat. So basically, I tried my hands on web development. I tried my hands on IoT. I tried basically everything I used to know at that time, or seniors suggested,
Mhm.
coding and everything I tried. Coding I used to love, but I did not find that spark in web development or even IoT or even, Android and Java, all those developments. So what happened is during my third year, somebody suggested there's an internship opening in CSIO. So I went there. I joined the most interesting of these fields that I tried. I found IoT the most interesting at that time.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, let me try that internship in IoT. We'll figure it out. So I joined a CSIO Chandigarh for a 2 month summer intern. And there, yeah, so I was given a project on IoT, but initially they kept on asking doing naive things like write code and all that. So I was like, I'm not liking it. Do you have any other projects where I can, go? So they recommended, me and my friend were there. So they recommended there's an opening for a data science, machine learning kind of a stuff. There are two openings, so you both of you can go. So we're like, yeah, sure, we'll try that. So we went there and I built a very basic, I had no idea about machine learning at that point of time, just heard about it. So we started, I think what we did was it was a basic news classifier, so whether or not it is a fake news. So
Mhm.
we used SCM and like all the basic stuff that we used to know.
Got
So that is where I was like, this sounds interesting. I'm doing cool stuff now. So where
it.
my journey in data science started. So after that, I pursued my fourth year major project in data science. And I was mostly looking out for data science opportunities. But during those days, very few data science company used to come on campus,
Exactly.
like 2 to 3%, even less than
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So luckily, I got into one of the data science companies at that time. I joined a startup in Hyderabad called Setu.
Mhm.
So there were 20, 30 folks, and like a team of five data scientists were there. One head data scientist was leading them. That is where I started learning also. I was learning and implementing, learning and implementing. That is how like I got into data science, and I'm really happy I did because I was not finding that spark in any of the other, career opportunities or the fields, I would say.
Got it, got it. So you got that spark initially itself, but a
Yeah,
lot of
luckily.
students cannot figure out which domain they should actually target. So what would your advice be for them?
I think like I've been with so many people during that time who were confused, but the thing that was lacking is people were not trying different things. Unless you try, you will not know. What worked in my favor is I tried out everything and then I knew this is something I don't want to do. This is something I don't want to do. Eventually you'll figure out. But if you keep on thinking kya karna hai, how to do, I don't know what to do, I just don't want to do this, then you'll not be able to figure it out. Just those 4 years keep on experimenting with everything.
Exactly, exactly. Because if you just go with a fixed mindset that I just want to end up in data science, maybe you might be good at something else
Yes,
which you have not
yes,
explored.
yes,
Yeah, that's a really good
correct.
point. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So, given your background, and now because you have worked in this field since a very long time, so what
Hmm.
is the most essential skill that you would define a person that a data scientist should have, or maybe an ML engineer should have? What are the essential skills for that?
First of all, I think you should be open to learning. I mean, I will not say it's a skill set, but it's a mindset, for example. So you should be open to explore. You should have that, mindset of diving deep into things. Just knowing what the algorithm is just doing dot fit and dot transform will not lead you anywhere. You
Exactly.
need to understand. You need to understand what's going on in the background. So for that, you need to understand the maths behind it. You need to understand the intuition is also very helpful. You need to have that intuition of what to apply where and that maths. I think the combination of these two is a good enough, you know, what do I say? It's good enough to, help you move ahead in your career as a
Mhm.
data scientist.
Got it, got it. And what would you advise for somebody who's targeting, or maybe who wants to be an ML engineer or a data engineer for that matter?
ML engineer and data engineer, I think one major skill set would be your analytics mindset. You
Mhm,
should be very good at inferencing data. You should be very good at playing with data.
mhm.
So, I mean, when you get a data set, don't just directly start consuming it. Open it up. Like, you should know each and everything about that data.
Exactly.
Anybody asks you, you should know A to Z about that data. What is there, what is missing, what is helpful, what is not. You should know everything, all the stats of the data, all the variants, everything of the data. So that is one thing, like that exploration and analytics side would be helpful for a data analyst. For an ML engineer, I think what I would say is like I've not worked as an MLE, but at some point of my career, I've done that part too. So that would essentially include your understanding of various, infrastructures, cloud knowledge, and all that. So you should keep on brushing that side of skill also. Even being a data scientist, I would not say just focus on model building. You should know like what kind of cloud architectures you're working with. You should have a, if not very deep, you should have a medium level understanding of them.
Understood,
Right? Does that
understood.
answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And to have knowledge of other domains is also a very good point, because if you would
Correct.
want to work with them, so if even a
Correct.
brief knowledge or maybe brief idea about the tools and technologies that the other teammates are using, that would
Yes.
definitely help. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It also helps in collaborating. Like if you do not know their system at all, you will not
Mhm.
be able to give the best of what data science output you're going to give.
Exactly.
So you should have a knowledge of all that. You have to maintain that balance as well.
Understood, understood, understood. And what suggestions you might give it to people where to start from? So, how would they actually go about maybe learning about these skills? Should they focus more on maybe certifications or
Mhm.
hackathons, or maybe doing their own projects, or how should they go about it?
I think all of it. I think all of it. So
Okay.
first step would obviously be, taking up courses, or if you're not good with, courses kind of thing, you can do your self-learning as well, whatever
Mhm.
works for anyone, right? So my point being, the first point is you have to learn. You have to learn through courses, you have to learn through other people's implementations, their code bases, anything and everything you can learn from, whatever suits you. Then it is essential that you participate in competitions also, for example, Kaggle. Because one thing I learned from there is people are thinking in so many different ways. Like I might not know ki this problem can be solved in certain manner until I look into somebody else's code. I'm like,
Right.
nice, this is a very good, that is this was very simple, but did not cross my mind.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
these kind of things you learn from competitions, collaborating with people, seeing what other people, how other people are approaching the problems, etc. That will help widen your broaden your learning or mindset, right? And the third thing was what was that you mentioned?
That how should they go about it? So it could be certification, it could be
Base.
courses, hackathon, or they just want to do their own projects. It could be self project, it could be college
Own
project or something.
projects. Own projects are also good, but I would, based on my experience, I would keep it on third priority. First would be courses, then competitions, and competition sort of you are covering a sample of projects only, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
but if you're enthused enough, yes, you should go for projects and put them on GitHub because many companies look for, your GitHub repos also. That is a
yeah,
plus
yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah. That's definitely a standout if suppose multiple
Yes,
applicants are there and
you'll
your
get
profile.
brownie points for that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Understood. And that's a really good point. Yeah. Okay, so let's come to the third segment of this episode. So the third segment focuses more on the interview, how the interview processes are, and how did you face those, what was your preparation strategies, and so
So I've been through many interview processes.
on. Okay.
Right. So, first, I'd like to give a brief of what kind of, approach the
Mhm.
interviewees follow.
Mhm.
They usually branch it out into 3 to 4 categories.
Mhm.
First would be they like to understand your ML breadth.
Mhm.
Like how many algorithms do you know on a high level? How much are you aware of? How much have you been, coming across and market, what's going on? They'd like to understand that perspective.
Mhm.
Secondly, they'd like to understand what is your how much do you know about the depth of the algorithms. So, for
Understood.
example, they'll come up and say, which is your favorite algorithm? For example, I say XGB. So they'll
Mhm.
be like, explain how does it work? Why
Mhm.
does it use that particular loss?
Mhm.
What is difference between this particular loss and say, for example, random forest loss?
Mhm. Mhm.
So I mean, those kinds of things. If I'm saying I know XGB end to end, I should know it end to end. I should know why and how of every step of every, idea behind like why that loss function was derived, what were the benefits, what were the drawbacks, all of it, and what kind of real world scenarios would I apply that particular algorithm in. So this thing will be covered in sort of depth.
Mhm.
Then there would be one coding round. So mostly it's real time coding. Some people give you data science problems and say like solve it hands on,
Mhm.
but you don't have to like give the end product. They are not concerned with what RMSE you are giving or what is the final score. What they are concerned with is what is your thought process.
Mhm.
How are you approaching the ED of this problem? What
Mhm.
what what questions are coming into your mind regarding the data?
Mhm.
Like how would you go about selecting a model? Now you know this is my data, this
Mhm.
is the problem I'm solving. What
Mhm.
kind of algorithms would I shortlist? I
Mhm.
cannot apply all algorithms, right? I
Exactly.
mean, yeah, people stack algorithms, but then again, they have to shortlist some of them and stack, right?
Yeah.
So that would be that. And then towards the end, they'd like to understand what sort of output or success metrics are you going to use.
Mhm.
So it's very important to select the right metric for your use case. You might be working with great algorithms, etc. But if you're using the wrong success metric, then it's all waste. So
Understood.
these three
Understood.
parts are
Mhm.
very important in a coding interview. And sometimes people don't ask DS based coding questions. Sometimes they just ask basic, for example, some dynamic optimization related problems
Mhm.
and simple codes, Python codes, wherein you can, go about optimizing them, reducing the complexity of the problem, etc.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
would suggest like have an understanding of entire data science project, like what is the workflow
Mhm.
and it in right manner. And apart from that, like you should have a good understanding of the code also. I mean, how are you going to optimize, etc.
Understood.
So,
Understood.
and that would be the third part, like coding or data science case study.
Mhm.
Then the last part mostly people ask is a case study wherein it's a very open-ended question. So, for example, I'm launching an app. I want to optimize or maximize the impressions, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
this is a very open-ended question. What kind of
Mhm.
app? What are you going to do with impressions?
Mhm.
How is it going to impact your revenue, etc., etc.
Mhm.
So the first thing you do there is you go about like confining the problem, for example.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
what kind of customer base are we targeting? What kind of, what are you going to do with impressions? They directly related to revenue, etc. You just broaden the spectrum down, and then you keep on asking questions, and then after that whatever comes to your mind, like if this is a case study, approach it in a there's a star framework for it, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So usually people follow that star framework. That really helps organize your thoughts. Use a pen and paper there. So yeah, I will talk about it in detail also later.
Okay.
But yeah, these are the main rounds. And the last one would be mostly a hiring manager round, wherein they would take an overview of whatever you've done in the first few rounds.
Mhm.
So basically, high level questions on ML, a little bit of case study, for example, and to understand like how enthusiastic are you for growing, learning, etc.
Understood.
They
Understood.
like to understand your mindset as well.
Okay. Okay. So these would be around 4 to 5 rounds or give and take,
Correct.
maybe.
Yeah, sometimes they club multiple rounds into one, bring it down to three. Sometimes they stretch it out to six. But yeah, on a high level, these 4, 5 topics are what they mostly cover.
Got it. Got it. So for these 4, 5 topics, could you give your preparation strategy? How did you go about it? Where did you start learning? Which resources did you use? And how did you practice? Because the most important part would be practicing. And
Hmm.
the fundamental problem is then while we are studying, we are interviewing. So there might be very limited time to practice. So how to practice in a way that you are interview ready whenever you need to be.
Yeah, I know that's the main problem you're working while interviewing. So, how I approached it, I mean, different things will work for different people. I'll share my experience. So, how I start is initially because you don't always remember all the algorithms you've studied, right? You might be focusing on particular set of algorithms in your current work.
Mhm,
So there's a tendency to forget the other ones, or maybe you'll have to brush on them up. So the first thing I do is I create a plan,
mhm,
open a doc,
mhm,
write all the algorithms you need to know, all the
mhm,
things you want to brush up on, like create a proper planning. Then you can go about first, I'd say, do not get deep into each of the algorithms.
mhm,
I would say approach it in the problem in the way like the interview strategies. Like I first study all the algorithms. I try to understand their losses, etc. On a high level, but not very superficial also,
mhm, mhm,
right? Try to understand the algorithms, etc. Brushing them all up, and like try to recall the use cases where I've used each one of them
mhm,
because that information will always come in handy. That will always help you, prove
mhm,
your case. So then I go about, I select like 20% of the algorithms that I've covered. So I shortlist usually the algorithms which I've worked with in past few years, right?
mhm,
And or few of the algorithms I've worked with in Kaggle competitions, which I really like. So I'll shortlist those algorithms. Then I'll go deeper into them. Deeper in the sense, then I'll have to, see everything and anything of that algorithm. I should have
yes,
the complete understanding. And you can also go about once you think you're ready with a particular algorithm, go and check the interview questions for that also.
mhm,
Because sometimes there are certain questions you might not be able to answer. I'm
mhm,
not
mhm,
just saying go read the question and the answer, question and the answer. Read the question, try to answer it yourself. And there might be some questions you might not be able to answer.
mhm.
So for those questions, go and research. Don't just read the answer. Go and
Got it.
research. Get to learn five new things from there.
Mhm, mhm,
So that's that. And once you're done with the rhythmic side, I used to spend some time on probability and SQL also, like
mhm,
on daily basis or maybe alternate days, like half an hour or so on SQL, half an hour or so on probability, because
mhm.
that is something you're not going to learn in one day. So
Exactly. Exactly.
that is basically practice,
Mhm,
right?
mhm, mhm.
So that you can do on almost regular basis, and these
Mhm.
algorithms you can approach in this manner. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it.
Got it. Got it. And how would somebody practice it? So this would be if they are theoretically understanding it, but if they want to practice it, so maybe SQL if they want to practice, or maybe probability if they would want to practice. How do they practice it, or how do they go about maybe being interview ready?
Got it, got it. So you're talking about hands-on. So SQL I used to do from HackerRank.
Mhm,
That is where I used to practice my SQL, and lead code is also helpful if you
mhm,
want to do probability questions. Or if not that, you can just, Google like most asked probability questions, or topic wise you can, if you're learning in like particular segments, then you can go about searching that particular topic and probability questions related to that.
mhm.
Try solving them. That will give you hands-on experience. And in SQL, I think yeah, HackerRank is what you can approach. There could be other platforms that work for different people, but this is what I used. And in terms of like ML hands-on, that I think we are already doing in our
Yes.
companies.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, if you still want to do, you can go with Kaggle.
Mhm,
Kaggle is really nice. You don't have to like get worked up about it, like you have to get first rank. What you can do is like approach the problem, try understanding what other people are doing, how they are approaching the problem.
mhm.
And that is how you can get ML hands-on as well. There are
Understood.
certain courses also which give you the opportunity for hands-on projects,
Mhm, mhm,
like, Udacity, Coursera, etc. So you
mhm.
can do that also. That will also really help.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, this covers up most of it. Just one point to add. How did you practice maybe case-based questions or a case study based? How
Okay.
would somebody practice that?
In my scenario, it was all theoretical only. So what I used to do is I used to search for case studies online for
Mhm,
say big four YouTube videos, case
mhm,
study related, right?
mhm,
So that is where I came across the STAR framework, wherein,
mhm,
how should you, they give like very good example of how they'll give you a case study, they'll give you a very good example of how you should refine the questions, how what questions should you be asking, and how you should be approaching the problem. So I think first would be look at a few YouTube videos to understand how the case studies work, and then you can also find blogs people have written about their interviews, right? So that will also really help. But yeah, I think case study people take more very lightly. Like, I'll see what kind of problem it will be. I'll handle it. But you have to refine your thoughts. You have to approach it in a systematic manner, and for that you need a little practice.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, yeah. That's I even I've seen that case-based rounds. Maybe it's not asked in every company, so people take it
Correct.
very lightly. But in few of the
Correct.
companies, they do mention that, and you would have to be prepared for it. So that's a really good
Even
point.
I, yeah, even I used to think that like case study, they'll give an ML problem, I'll solve it, no big deal. But the approach you take, that really matters.
Exactly, exactly. Thanks for having a very detailed answer for this. Okay, so this is the last section of the episode, and I
Mhm.
ask it to everybody. So let's suppose, given today is we are doing this on the weekend, so somebody would have only 24 hours for their
Mhm.
upcoming round. What are the
Got
top five topics that you would suggest them that they should? It's a must do for their upcoming round. Top five
too much
data science
pressure.
topic. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So basically towards the end, you cannot learn anything new, I think.
Mhm.
Right. So mostly what you should do is brushing up your skills. And if you think there are certain algorithms you need brushing up, you must have notes, you must have some, blogs online you've saved. So you can use those and brushing up the algorithms you think best. For example, tree-based is something people, 90% of the interviews will come across tree-based
Exactly.
algorithms
Yeah.
that you should brush up. Then they also ask, what is your favorite algorithm? Initially, I used to say linear regression because that's pretty. Then I moved on to tree-based algorithm. Yeah, so whatever favorite algorithm you're gonna mention, just make sure you know it end to end. So refine that also.
Mhm.
Then you can practice a few SQL questions to make sure that you are up to speed. You've not forgotten any syntaxes, etc. That's one thing you can do. Then I'd say like how I like to go about it in the last 24 hours is I'd like to Google like what are the interview questions so that I understand that if I've studied this topic and I don't know this answer, then that's a problem. If I
Okay.
don't know this topic, then that's another thing. But if I know this topic, I'm claiming that this is what I mean, I have a complete understanding of,
Mhm.
then I should know this question. So that can give you a view, like what drawback or what things you're still missing,
Mhm.
right? So you can
Mhm.
go about approaching in that manner. Then what else can you study?
We
If you
are
wish, you can
we have four.
do a
We won the last one. So last one has to be something really important.
okay. What would that be? Probability related, you can probably go about solve a few probability questions from different topics that can help you brushing up that aspect also, because that's also really important.
Mhm. Mhm.
Sometimes they also ask that what do you call, some questions related to trying to understand your analytic mindset, some sort of puzzles, etc. That
Okay.
also you can Google and you can study like some sort of puzzles they come up with in data science interviews. So that
Got
is
it.
something you last one at, yeah.
Understood. Understood. These five covers up maybe most around 60% of an interview on an average. So yeah, yeah, these five topics are really, really important.
Correct.
One point I really liked was that you mentioned that if you are mentioning your favorite
Hmm.
algorithm, or if you're
Hmm.
mentioning something that you like or you have worked on, that has
Hmm.
to be thoroughly prepared. That has to
Correct.
be
Correct.
thoroughly prepared. Otherwise,
Correct.
people might think that if you're not prepared for this, then maybe for other things as well, we there
Correct.
wouldn't be very confident on. Okay, okay. So
Correct.
anything that you write in your CV, you should be prepared well for.
Correct, correct. But in CV, like for example, I've worked with three companies in the past, so
Mhm,
they don't expect you to know everything from the first company or the second company.
mhm,
What they're concerned with is one project you've done most recently. You
mhm,
need to be thorough with that. You should be
mhm,
able to explain why and how
mhm,
of the approach you've taken,
Mhm.
and any questions that come up with that one. So they don't expect ki you'll remember everything for past 6 years, 10 years, right?
Mhm.
That's a fair ask. So be thorough with one of your recent projects that you've done, whys and hows, and what are the alternates or what are the opportunities that could have been, implemented if you'd stayed there. So all those things are important. And one thing I'd like to add is towards the end of the interview, do not forget to ask questions.
Okay.
So do not forget to show your interest, like you're interested in the company, what kind of projects are you working on, what kind of culture do you have? Questions are obviously dependent on you, but try to show that interest,
Mhm.
that you're enthusiastic about it. You're not just, some random person who's giving interviews. You are really focused, you want to grow and you want to contribute in that company. Show that and ask a few questions about the company, about the work they're doing, and how that fits into your, domain.
Got it. Got it. That shows your interest, and that would be maybe some. So it shows an interview that you're inclined towards the role and maybe interested
Correct.
in working with them. Yeah, yeah, that
Correct.
makes sense.
Correct.
Understood. Understood. That was quite a detailed answer with five topics plus some suggestion. So this wraps up the entire episode, whatever things that I wanted to ask. So thanks for doing this, that too on a weekend. But if you have any suggestions for because anybody who has around 2 to 3 years of industry experience or even a 1 year of industry experience, they already know how to approach
Okay.
other people in their network or how to maybe expand their horizon, or they already have friends. How should
Mhm.
college students actually go about it? Should they go for an internship in data science? If they don't find an internship in data science, what should they do? And should they directly go to a data science job in the first place, or should they explore the software side first and then switch to data science? So, what would your opinion be on that?
Okay, first thing I'd like to say is build contacts in college itself, like wherever you're studying.
Mhm.
Build contacts with seniors. Seniors are the ones they can guide you. They know like what is the various spectrum of things that's going on, right?
Mhm.
So always build contact with seniors. In my college also, like I used to take lessons from my seniors. They are the ones who pushed me towards coding. I knew nothing. I did not have IT in 11th, 12th also. So my seniors are who pushed me towards coding, and they motivated me, helped me learn, etc. Right? So always build contact with seniors. You can always take your queries, problems to them, and they'll have an answer.
Mhm.
Right? So yeah, that, and also work with them to for resume building. Resume is also very important before you step into the field.
Mhm.
So you might know a million things, and if you put two on the resume, people will think you know two, right?
Exactly.
So a good resume says a lot of things. So
Mhm.
work with them to create a good resume,
Mhm.
and try to take guidance from them. Apart
Mhm.
from that, you can also start building your LinkedIn network.
Mhm.
So wherein you can like keep approaching people. Like I usually get pings from college students saying like I'm trying to get into this field. What should I do? And I give them answers, right? So you should approach different people who are in the industry, and try to understand what's going on from them. Then you should try to do some courses also. That's also gonna really help you.
Mhm.
And if you like, you also asked like, should they directly get into
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
data science job or maybe start with software? I'd say if you are clear about it, you want to work in a data science field,
Mhm.
why waste time doing a software kind of a job?
Mhm.
Some part of data science job also revolves around software, like
Exactly.
coding, etc.
Yeah.
Right? That
Yeah.
that is a crucial part of data science. It's not just building models. You have to build data pipelines also. You have to optimize code also. All
Mhm.
those things are already there. So you'll get the experience in the data science role as well. So if you're pretty clear about it, go for data science. If you're unclear, you can maybe explore other options. Like I'd suggest do it in college itself, so that once you get
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
field, you know where you wanna go. But yeah, if still not, then yes, you can explore development side first, and then maybe step into data science. But it will be slightly difficult. The reason being, with your current job, you will have to study for data science as well. So keep that in
Exactly.
mind. If you're
Exactly.
open for it, yeah, you definitely can go for it.
That's a
Does
pretty
that answer
detailed
your
answer.
question?
Yeah, that's definitely a detailed answer. And I hope that would actually help a lot of students out there. But yeah, so just one point. If suppose they have more questions, so could I tag your LinkedIn profile so that they can directly connect with
Sure,
you, and if they want to have some interaction with you, so that would be
sure,
much
sure,
better. Yeah, that should work.
definitely.
Okay, so this comes to the last part of our episode.
Mhm.
So thanks for doing this on a weekend. And I hope this episode helps a lot of people out there because
Yeah, same.
yeah, yeah, because I feel that while interviewing, we don't have enough resources as of now, which are giving you exact interview related experience, and that too, not exactly in the Indian context. So this should help, and maybe people might ping you directly to ask for your guidance so you can help them as you wish.
Definitely. I also really hope like this helps people. And people are very confused in college, and it's a normal thing to have.
Mhm.
You don't have to be, worried about it that I don't know
Yeah.
what I'm gonna do, how I'm gonna do. It's okay, it's a phase and you'll figure it out. So just be consistent, don't stop learning, I think.
Mhm. Mhm.
Learning and you'll end up in a good place.
Got it. Keep learning is always there, even if you switch jobs,
Correct.
even if you're in a role, you have to keep learning because the data scientist field is ever changing. Last year
Correct.
there were some different models, this year there are some different models, so they would have to keep
Correct.
learning.
Correct.
Got
So don't listen to your parents कि 12th तक पढ़ना है उसके बाद तो chill है. No, you have to always
it.
study.
Okay, okay. That should be noted. At least for data science. Oh, I feel anything in computer science domain, you
Data
would
science
have to.
particularly because
Yeah,
it's very fast moving.
exactly, exactly. Got it. So thanks for doing this. I hope we have you in future episodes as well, when maybe you're
Sure.
doing something else, maybe researching, or maybe having a new project, or maybe building something of your own. So let's make sure that once you're there, we'll have you again on the podcast.
Definitely, it'll be a pleasure.
Thanks, Akshita.
Thank you. Good day. Bye bye.
Yeah.